Welcome everyone, Dr. Thor here. Get ready for Christ consciousness. Now we're going to talk about your actual rubbing plate. This is what I call the out plate, because this is where all the energy that goes into your witness plate and through your dials comes out. Now this is something you should check. The problem is, since there is really no understanding of general radionics out there, God knows what your actual machine is like or how it's wired. So you need to know where the energy is coming out. And this is usually also connected to your rubbing plate, or the out plate. Should be your out jacks. And that should be coming off of the last dial or off of the plate itself. Now the last dial you have should go up to the rubbing plate, and connected to that should be in jacks, or out jacks I should say. So you really need to look inside your machine if you can. So I've told you what to look for in terms of all the other things. This is important because the problem is manufacturers of these machines have no idea what they're doing. So God knows how they're wired, etc. So some machines actually have a rubbing plate that is separate from the in and out plate. It's a third plate. And this can be handy because you can place it somewhere, usually at the bottom of the machine, where you can access it easily. Some machines have the in plate at the top and the out plate at the bottom, and it's as simple as that. So, keeping all that in mind, it's very important that you know this. It's very important that your machine is wired correctly. Are the dials going from 1, 2, 3 through whatever, usually 9, and is that last dial connected to the rubbing plate or connected to the last dial period? So very important that's how. It's very simple. The energy, like anything else, whether it's an electrical circuit or a hose filtering water, it goes from one through. Now, if you have a kink somewhere or you're trying to divert it into a different direction, well, you're going to get a bad energy flow. Now, the rubbing plate is where you're going to hold your pendulum over, the out plate, because that's where the energy is coming out. So as you tune each dial in sequence, dial 1, dial 2, dial 3, well, when you're dialing it, you're holding your pendulum over the out plate. Now, I don't recommend people using the rubbing method. This is a bad way of doing things. And if you're in a hurry, well, you shouldn't be doing this process anyway. This is a consciousness process. There is no machine that can automatically get you rates. So if you're doing it yourself, now you can put a rate in, meaning you get it from somebody else, put that in your machine. And then, of course, that's one way of doing it. But there isn't a machine that you put something on it, press a button, and it kicks a rate out for you. That's impossible. There's no way to do this. You're talking about subtle energy physics, and these informational energetic fields can only be deciphered and registered and quantified through the use of you with your millions of miles of nerve endings and your consciousness. That's real technology, people. I mean, you want something that you flip a switch, which is nothing more than a hunk of metal and lead and wires and copper and whatever else is in these things. God knows is what's really in these things. And something happens. Well, everybody likes that technology, especially if it's a toaster, especially if it's a TV or something. So the whole idea is that that's the way it works. But for those very simple, very basic, and basically you're talking about caveman technology that we work with today. Well, you have an electrical wire, you plug it into your wall, that brings electricity to a particular product that then does something, toaster, refrigerator, etc. And all you do is turn the switch on. Well, those are doing very simple, non-complicated, very crude energies. The electromagnetic spectrum, electricity, this is all very crude. When you're getting into higher sensing capacities, which only a human can do, and I'm not sure it'll ever be able to be done by machines, because you are the key to it. And if you're working on yourself or some other biological entity, you need to work from your higher self. And there's no such thing as a machine that works from your higher self. Machines assist in the application of your higher self-produced energies. Hopefully everybody gets that. So, the rubbing is when you put your finger, you're turning the dial while you have 2 fingers, 1 finger, whatever you want to do, and you're rubbing it back and forth on the plate. Now, And you're supposed to get a stick, meaning your fingers kind of grab there when you reach the right actual tuning. Well, this is so nebulous, I give it no credit whatsoever. What is a stick? Was that a stick? Was it kind of a stick? How strong was it? Well, with a pendulum, you can tell all of that. You can also check what you're doing, and a proper tuning, which I will show in our course area on video, will show you the many differences that you can get. This is just an introductory course that is free to the public, but you need to support us. You need to join the courses. You need to go up to your upper right on YouTube here, click on the website, click on Patreon, and support us, and we will be having courses to come out there. Now, if you, we're not going to give any of our information away. I spent 40 years researching this, and you have to support us. We need money for product development and in general. So the whole idea is if things are going to be done, it's because people support it. But, people find radionics fascinating, but there's very few supporters out there. And you're in a heap of trouble out there because all these machines are built by moron Satanists who are going to send you horrible energies. Simple as that. So let's get into this and understand what the outplate is all about. So this is obviously the outplate. That's where all the energy goes to. Now, when you're trying to get the energy flows out there, and that's how you're tuning again. So getting back to this stick. Now, sticks, as I said, they're very nebulous. Was that a stick? Was it not? So I don't believe in it all. It's too inexact, and I think that to think that you can sense well with your fingers whether it grabs or not is pure psychological nonsense. You're thinking it's doing it, and that is bad. With a pendulum, if you're doing it right and you're a good dowser, you're not moving that pendulum. People talk about this response in the through the muscles and everything else. That's nonsense. You can also put pendulums held by something else, but you still have to touch that. So we used to have pendulums that were suspended on an actual rod, and that rod was wrapped with a certain amount of copper turns on it, and you would touch it and it would move. But these are difficult to use, and I'm not sure you need that. If you're holding your pendulum correctly, you're not assisting it. And you can always tell people that are giving it a little extra. It starts spinning like a helicopter. It spins too fast all the time. Well, this isn't true. And you can actually see their arm moving. The bottom line, if you're doing this right, there's very little to no movement in your arm, in your hand, etc. So I've seen this before. And if you're going to get a psychic message and then make the pendulum go that way because of the psychic message, you're doing it wrong. You're supposed to be picking up the energies from the cosmos that are then spinning that. And I do this all the time, and it works well. Now, it's not easy to learn initially. We have several pendulum learning tools that are a lot of fun. We have the stock market one, which uses all sorts of fun ways to do it. We have our Druid training one, which is a real blast. You detect electricity. You also detect magnetism. You detect certain images, and there's varied images you get that are on these kind of little coins, and you put these underneath the actual Druid stump, and you find the one that is actually you are seeking. And you have the pendulum tell you, and there's a whole game that comes with that. It's a fantastic vintage tool that I have upgraded into a fantastic use item. So keeping all that in mind is the fact that there are fun ways of doing this. If you buy any pendulum from us, you get access to a whole bunch of courses, a whole bunch of books, charts, etc. They're all there. And it's all, anytime you get any of our dowsing products, you get a whole library of stuff that you could study for the rest of your life. You don't need to get anything else. You don't need any other books. You don't need any other charts. It's all there. It tells you everything. There are courses there, etc., that are have been available for many years. And I'll be coming up with my own course as well in the future. But these are great tools. And if you're not good at dowsing, forget it. You're never going to do radionics. How are you? Sticks? I mean, it's moronic. There's so many things that are moronic, people that don't use Polaroids, all these things are nonsense because you're switching over from energetic informational fields into psychic deductions. So you then hone into that person psychically and try and pull the energy out of them. Well, you're wasting a lot of very precious energy. So, the ignorant people out there say that this is not necessary. Well, they're stupid. They don't know anything. Some of these ignorant people are actually putting Tesla coils through units and everything. This is crazy ass stuff. So it's just not the way it's done. Amplification, we used Van de Graaff's generators, we used Tesla coils, but these are amplifiers. They are not something you put through your unit in general. So there is a high art form to this. There is a science to it. This isn't just some box of wires that don't make sense. It makes a lot of sense if you understand it, and that's why I walk people through it all. So you want to stay away from the stick method. This is for lazy, stupid people. And one of the reasons they brought the stick out is because some people have huge numbers of dials on their machines. You're talking about 20, 30 dials. Now, if you have to go through each one of those with a pendulum, it's going to be quite a chore. So take the shortcut, rub it all over the place. Ooh, it's kinky, isn't it? Rub it. So the whole idea is that this is the kind of nonsense you get into and the reason why these machines don't work well. So that's a thing of the past, and people did that to make it. But I don't like that one bit. So if you use a pendulum, you can also measure things. You can say, well, how good is that stick or that yes you're getting? And you can generally start feeling the power. When you hit something really strong, it starts to spin quite strongly. And of course, you're looking for a spin in clockwise. So you're going through each number, and you can go through these numbers relatively quickly and watch your pendulum. When you're good at it, it's interesting because you can turn the dial and you can see the pendulum start moving. Even when you're going quickly, it'll start spinning there while you've passed the number, then you have to go back. Quite interesting. So you can see how strong a reading you're getting. This can be very helpful when you're dialing as well. If you dial in something and you get a really strong spin, it means that there's a lot of energy there. You've got more information that you need. So that's all part of the process. Now, as I said, dowsing is a big part of this, and there's lots of pendulums there. We have a special radionic pendulum we're offering now that is perfect for radionic tuning, and this is on our website in our pendulum area. It's a really beautiful metal, multi-metal pendulum that works really fantastic. We're always looking for something that works better than your standard. And of course, you should have different pendulums and find out what works for you. Again, thinking everything's electromagnetic, which is the way we used to do things in the past, people tend to get metal things because they're so-called conductors. Well, this isn't true at all. I get really excellent results with a round plastic lucite ball. Which I use all the time. And I don't know if it's the shape or not, but plastic basically is petroleum. So it's basically a natural product. It's been highly, quote, refined, but it's basically, that's what plastic is. Plastic is petroleum. So it is connecting you to the earth. And plastic, which is not a conductor, it's an insulator, oddly enough. That's why you have plastic covering wires. It's an insulator, which may be good. It's keeping out the electromagnetic. We're moving away from all electromagnetic, all conducting materials as best we can now because we get much better results when we use non-conducting material. I know that goes against most people's thinking, but these kind of energies are not in the electromagnetic spectrum, and I'm going to be pounding on that from this point on. We've proven that 100% and are developing tools that work 10 times stronger than these old metal-based nonsense. So understanding, and you want to get down to as little conductivity as possible because they interfere with getting the right rates. I know that sounds bizarre, but it's true. So you have to figure out where your rubbing plate is. Now, I generally don't add rubbing plates because your out plate is your rubbing plate. That's where the energy is coming from. Why have extra panels? That's more work. There's more time involved. All of that is a serious problem. So we need to understand that as a general focal point. So, but you need to know that. So a lot of radionic instruments you can't open. And this is a problem. Some, they don't mark their dials. Some of them don't even have numbers on them. All of this stuff is really bizarre. I just don't understand where you're coming from. So these are all things to look out for, and you're getting inferior junk, and it's as simple as that. So we hope to have in the next coming years having dial units, but I'm more set into providing you with your rates and you using them, which has been proven in recent years. Just use the number. You meditate on it, you connect to it, you send it into. That's what you're getting anyway. That rate is a energetic representation of the energy you're trying to access, and as such, by visualizing and taking the number into you, which you are taking the energy into. It's as simple as that, and that's how radionic machines work anyway. The numbers are important because they put a quantitative measurement on a particular energy field. So if you're trying to dial in prosperity or money, well, what is that? What's the rate for that? So, well, it comes up to a number. And as I said, we may even get away from numbers entirely and move into shapes, etc., but we'll get into that another time. So these are all the things you can know. If you can open up your machine, you should. And you should look at it. Now, people don't like this. You have to be careful. You don't want to break anything. People don't want you to know what's inside. I used to be like that because people tend to copy it. Of course, your competition does. Everything I do is copied. Everything I put on YouTube is copied. People doing all my techniques with their junk because they don't know nothing. So the whole idea is that that's very typical. The other idea is that, but why? What are you hiding? So you should be doing something special that can't be copied. You can't copy my technologies because they are specially built. And at the subatomic level, the subtle energy level, we have actually changed the reality is what's there. So the actual mechanism or the electronic device, we have changed it at its core energetically using our special technology. So there's no comparison. There's nothing to it. Nobody can copy it. So if you get something from someone else, you've got an inferior piece of electromagnetic junk. And it's just as simple as that. That's why we've moved away from dials and everything else. But dials are helpful when we tune in actual rates that I give you and other rates that are out there. But, the best rates you can get have to come from a professional that knows what they're doing. And unfortunately, the average person is not going to be very good at this. But you have to know how your machine is built. So if you can open it up, do it. If the dials aren't numbered, in terms of what is dial 1, 2, etc. Well, this shows very bad workmanship because you don't know how to dial. And of course, they tell me that. Well, the whole idea is you shouldn't have to be thinking which dial is next. It should have a number on it that you then actually can see it and go to. You don't want to waste any mental energy doing anything. You think, well, that's nothing. I just got to think. It doesn't matter. You shouldn't be thinking about the next dial to go to. So this is a problem. What is the flow of that machine? You need to know that. Where is 1? Where is 9? Are they connecting to each other? These are the things we looked at, and I've already did a lecture on that. So you need to look inside, you need to know that, and you need to be able to turn your dials also in terms of what numbers are they on. Now, having dials that has numbers on them is very important. Having a sticker with numbers printed on them that you move stuff to is very bad. That's not good, it's unprofessional, it's cheap. So you want to move away from that. So that's very important to understand in the bigger picture. Sometimes you have to do that, and that's just the nature of the beast. But the bottom line is that you want to avoid that, especially if you're building a machine from scratch. This is how things actually work. So that is your outplate. That's how you tune it, and that's what the outplate is for. So the other thing you do with the outplate is you put the target that you're going to send it to. So if you're going to send energy to a particular piece of land, or maybe you're empowering a farm or your backyard, which has growing stuff, well, you would put a picture of your backyard there. If you're sending the energy to a person, well, you put a picture of that person there, whatever their, quote, witness is. Now, here again, all of these, if possible, should be made from the special Polaroid type cameras that we offer. It's very important. If you don't have a good mutation of that energy form, meaning a witness that can then transfer it through quantum physics, meaning everything is connected, then you're not doing well. If it's just a regular 35 millimeter picture, or you've printed it out from your phone and you've done it through different printers, even high quality printers, you're getting a lesser energy field. Now, there are some energy there, but the difference is between 20% and 100%. It's a big difference, and with subtle energies, that's radical. But you use what you can, meaning, it's difficult to get Polaroids of certain things. It's difficult to get Polaroids of certain people. Depending on what you're doing, maybe you can't get it. So, somebody sends you a digital picture on your phone or through email. Well, you use that. I do it all the time. You have no choice. If you're going to have stuff sent back and forth and get all that delay, and then they have to get certain cameras, well, this becomes very impractical. But if I work with anybody seriously, that's what I do. So if it's a long-term case, of all those things, I'm moving over to making sure those people send me Polaroids, and these Polaroids are updated 6 months to a year. So you have because the Polaroid picture of you a year ago is different from the Polaroid picture of you today. You're an evolving entity. And if someone's working on you, clearing out energies, well, your vibrations are going to be different. So these things have to be upgraded as often as you can. It's difficult if you're working with people far away. It wouldn't be a bad idea to have a new picture every month. It's part of the process. So it's like getting new golf balls. You don't hit the same golf balls forever. Well, the whole idea is you get new golf balls, you find new techniques. This is all part of the process of understanding what's going on. So this is where you place those things on. Now, going back to the witness plate, you can place things you want to flow through that machine again after you've dialed. A lot of people do this. They'll put a color up there. They'll put a stone or a crystal up there. Here again, the problem is, though, if you're putting physical things like colored paper, if you're putting a stone there, regardless of it, well, these are low vibrational. I mean, stones, technically minerals and so forth, they're all alive. The old shaman saying is that, stones just breathe every 50 years, but they are alive. And they are. But you are not able to transmit that energy to someone else in its crude form. Again, you're picking up tiny percent. I think physical items, you're getting maybe 1 or 2%. So you need to put those things in water, put them in the sun for a couple hours, and then that water is going to be vibrating that particular stone, etc. So you want to try and make it as vibrational as possible, and you can add that on at the end. So after everything's tuned, you put your witness, the person or the witness or whatever you want, whomever you're going to send the energy to that's in that machine, their picture goes on the out plate. Usually I put my pictures, what I'm doing now is face up, because face down with Polaroids has the actual chemicals there. Ideally, your witness plate, which is the in plate, should have a laser shooting through it. The other one on the out plate, should be the same thing. There should be a laser shooting that outward from you. So ideally, and of course, we're going to have machines that actually do that. And we're going to have a lot of components. We know people have a lot of machines, and what we're going to do is have a lot of accessories so you can make the machines you have good. Some of these old machines can be used if you check the wiring. If the wiring is good and they're made okay, you can still use them. If they have some sort of orgone in there, well, that should be removed if you can. We do have plates now, special sigils that you put under your machine that will negate the toxic energies in there, particularly the orgone that's in there that accumulates a lot of toxins. This is a problem with anything anybody uses. So if you're using crystals all the time, you're using any kind of products all the time, you need to clear them. And the problem is people are building in what a lot of people have in their machines. Well, you've got a consistent negative energy there, and it's not good for you. And the benefits that some people claim they're getting is nothing but a placebo effect. Nothing's really happening. As a matter of fact, they're fighting off the toxic energies that orgone produces in a machine like this. Orgone is very interesting, and there is something there, but the problem is that it says in the Orgone Accumulator Handbook how toxic orgone is from a guy who's studied it all his life. So you got to understand what you're using again. Is that the best energy? Well, it's kind of an old cruddy energy, and you have to purify it. And there are lots of ways you can do that, but you really have to be skilled to know what you're doing. You also should be having in your vicinity a basically Earth pulse, or what's considered the Schumann resonance, pulsating where your machines are at. This is important as well, and we recommend you get one of these tube amplifier units as an investment, and this will then give you the purest energy you can possibly get. This will increase your manifestation by 50% because it's putting you in a field of manifestation. So, and this is one of the problems because everything is atropic, everything is breaking down. The minute you start a machine and the energy goes out, well, it's being broken down instantly. It depends how fast that is. It could be very fast or very slow. How do you amplify it? Well, you're using these resonant fields, especially are specially made and upgraded tube 7.8 hertz amplifying type units. So those are all part of the process there, which is very important for you to understand. So all of that is all of these subtle energy steps are important. And if you get it all going together and it's moving, then it's not a problem. It takes a while to understand it. It takes a while to get all the good stuff that you need. But once you get it, if we do come out with anything new, and there's lots of things I haven't covered here, but you can add these on. We try and make everything modular. So you get yourself a panel of a broadcasting amplifier basic radionic set that we offer with a symbolic box. Then you can add on to that. You can add dials onto it. You can add stronger amplifiers or whatever we want to put on there. We generally have in and out jacks that allow you to plug things in. So that's just the way it is. So it's important for all of us to understand that and know what we actually is going on there. So you can take some of these off, but you're going to have to use our clearing sigils. This has to go under the box and stay there. This will keep it empowered and will clear out any kind of negativity that has been produced by a lot of these boxes, and also the energies that have been poured in there by the manufacturers. And you probably have a box that is made by a very negative criminal Satanist, because that's what's popular out there. And of course, they don't even hide it that much, which is the kind of amusing part of it. But the public is so stupid, and everybody looks at Satanism like it's just a little joy. The fact that they have human sacrifices, torture people, or pedophiles, all of that don't mean nothing. Oh, it's okay. It's just thinking different. Yeah, thinking negative and evil. And these satanic cults are into all sorts of things, whether they are public about it or not. Behind the scenes, there's a lot of bad stuff going on, plain and simple. So we need to fully understand that. People get caught up in that because they somehow think that these people are powerful. They are? Well, let's look at the Satanists. None of them have. Anton LaVey died broke. Aleister Crowley was not a Satanist, but he was kind of into negative died broke, and a drug addict because of his asthma, actually. And we go on and on. The Temple of Set, well, he didn't achieve anything. Mommy gave him millions. He got thrown out of the military. We go on and on to all of these cults, and what happens? None of them really have done much of anything. So we need to understand it. But this is an area I bring up because it's a necessity for you to understand that, because that's what's out there. And if you have this stuff, you're being connected to demonic energies, plain and simple, and they are going to mess with you. So hopefully that's clear. We'll get more and more into that. But you're basically, your rubbing plate is your out plate. This is where your witness goes, or where you want it. So the energy is coming out there. So whoever you want to send it to, or whatever you want to send it into, maybe you want to send it into a crystal. Maybe you want to put a glass of water there so that you can draw those energies into you. All of these is, so where would you put that? A lot of people maybe think they put it on the in plate. Well, they don't. They put it on the out plate, because that's where the energies are going out. And of course, you're going to plug in your amplifiers, your transmitters, and everything else. Well, you're going to plug that into, guess what? Your out jacks. That's how it all works. So hopefully that's been clear. and everyone understands that, but know your instruments. Hopefully, as we get more and more, we have a great little bass unit. We have a great little quote manifesting, wishing type machine. Very simple to use, very powerful. They're all there. And these are things built to a very high standard. They're all very pure. They produce super powerful energies and manifest fast. Everybody else is based in copying somebody else. And the problem is that these people are openly promoting Satanists. And it's kind of amusing that anybody would buy from these people. And apparently they do okay. Pretty sad, but remember, you're setting yourself up for all sorts of problems. These are conscious machines. If you want to connect into their negativity, their horrible criminal activities that they do, and everything else, well, welcome to it. It's all there. And that's who runs that industry in general in the United States. And that's how they pay these criminals, by having them build machines and everything else. And they all work together. And luckily, the stuff that they build is all garbage. That is really tinker toy kindergarten stuff. So with that, hope this has been enlightening. Until next time.